Early signing day. It's a time where you can boast what you got coming up, or it's a time where maybe you got concern and maybe you just need to head to the transfer portal after that. So let's look at some early season headlines, some early season reactions from early signing day. Now, the first thing I look at, Michigan State, right? Where has been the weakness of the Michigan State Spartans? A big weakness of Michigan State has been on the defensive line, has been in the front seven. Heck, it's been on defense in general. Okay, so what do? They go out and improve it both with high school kids for the future of their program and with transfers. First, I'm going to look at the high school kids first. By Job, a 4-star edge rusher. He's the top player from the state of Oklahoma, number 79 player in the country. He moved to the United States from Senegal back in 2018, so he's pretty new to this whole football thing. As a junior in high school, he had 16 and a half sacks. Very explosive off the line. Strength to keep on going when he gets tied up with an offensive lineman. He can line up on the inside of the D-line. He can line up on the outside of the D-line. Watch him on tape. I really like what he brings to the table. There's a couple other more 4-star guys on the defensive line in this class for Michigan State, including Jalen Thompson on the defensive line. But then when you look at the transfer portal, Tumishe Adelie, the transfer edge from Texas A&M. He was the 39th ranked player in the country in the 24/7 recruiting class a few years ago. Played defensive tackle at Texas A&M. When you talk about plug-and-play guys, he's the guy that can come in right away on this Michigan State defensive line and make a big-time impact right away. He's the guy that can get the job done. I don't think there's any question about that. So Michigan State, they saw a weakness on their defensive line, and they're trying to repair that hole. It's been the Michigan State defense, I believe. They played decent in spurts, but for the most part, the Sparty defense has really trailed behind, and it really has not been very good. And I think that's where Michigan State has to get better. It's got to be the defensive side of the ball. I think they've done it in their high school recruiting class. They're doing it in their transfer class. They've got some of the most transfers coming in so far in all of college football. I'm going to transition. Another headline I looked at. Matt Rhule is setting a tone for what's to come at the University of Nebraska. I'm going to get to a couple of kids here. Malachi Coleman, that was such a huge hold for Nebraska, right? He decommitted, opened up his recruiting. Then you bring in a guy that he goes to, visits Colorado, Deion Sanders, Lamborghinis, whatever, all the stuff that goes along with the Deion Sanders recruitment package. And then that's where I thought, oh boy, here we go. Maybe things are going to flip. But Matt Rhule comes in, he sticks to his guns, and he gets Malachi Coleman to stay on signing day. Look, this guy is going to be a great player. Like, you took a look at what Trey Palmer did, breaking all those records. Maybe Malachi Coleman is the next guy that can come in and be explosive for this Nebraska football team. 6'5", lanky. He's got that track speed on him. And keeping a local kid at home is what Matt Rhule wants to do. He's been tweeting out pictures of going all across the state of Nebraska from east to west, and every city that I've never been to. I've just traveled across the state on I-80, so I've seen all of those cities. But he has done the legwork. He has done the job to make those Nebraska kids want to stay at home. And you look at those Nebraska kids, he's got the number 1, number 3, and number 4 players in the state coming to the Huskers, right? You look at Maverick Noonan, the number 3 player in the state. He's an edge rusher out of Omaha. You look at Gunnar Gatula, an interior offensive lineman out of Lincoln Southeast, the number 4 player in the state. He's establishing a trend where these Nebraska kids are going to want to stay home. Like, if you look at high school guys, like Omaha isn't a bad market. You'll get the occasional 4-star guy. If you get Omaha and if you get Lincoln, like, you've got decent players, within an hour of campus of Memorial Stadium. If you can own those areas, Omaha and Lincoln, that could be a really good base. And then, of course, you go out into the other parts of Nebraska. You go out into Kearney. You go out west and try to find, some of these other players at some of these smaller schools and some of these smaller cities that are playing good high school football. He said it in a press conference, You want kids to dream to wear that N on the side of their helmet in the side of Nebraska. And it's crazy. It's crazy to me that the guy that played at Nebraska, that was from Nebraska, did not really have that mindset. High school coaches have said that said, hey, it's nice to have the Nebraska head coach in our office. So that's one thing I took from signing day. Iowa, losing out on Caden Proctor. That was a big headline from the early signing period. Look, Caden Proctor said he thought he was settling. He wanted to go to a place where he could compete for championships and play a decent amount right away. Like, this is the best guy that's ever played high school football in the state of Iowa. Caden Proctor is a guy that, man, Iowa was really hinging on him to really improve that offensive line and really build around him at the tackle position and really build around him on that offensive line. This hurts. It's kind of just another gut punch to Iowa football this season, and it's just another indication of the direction, maybe the lack of direction, and maybe they're not going in the right direction down there in Iowa City with the black and gold, and maybe it just signifies another need of a change of a fresh perspective in Iowa City. Like, this is a developmental program. I think this is kind of what we learned. Like, they've had decent classes in the past. This year they had no 5 stars and no 4 stars. So it's just a bunch of 3 stars in this class for Iowa. This is a developmental program. They recruit a lot of local kids that want to stay in the state. And I think that's maybe the perspective that you need to get. Look, of course you want to go out there and you want to get really good recruits, but man, you look at where Iowa's playing right now, you look at the box that they're in maybe, and you got Matt Rhule and doing what he's doing. You got Luke Fickell, who's doing a decent job in recruiting. It's going to get tougher to recruit to Iowa. This needs to be a developmental program going forward. And it has been. I will say that. It has been a developmental program. It just needs to continue doing that because they've been able to develop some pretty damn good players over the years. For the second straight season, Penn State has had a better recruiting class than the University of Michigan. Last year, Penn State, they went and got their skill players. They got Rhule, the great quarterback. They got Katron Allen and Nick Singleton, who had a fantastic season this season. And Caden Saunders, a wide receiver, 4-star last year, top 100 guy. Didn't see a ton of playing time, but I think he could have some impact on this passing game in the future. This year, they're beefing up with number 1 guys in their respective states on the offensive line. Javon Williams, top player in the state of Pennsylvania, number 35 in the country. He's the top interior lineman as well in the country. You look at Alex Burkmeyer, top player in the state of Virginia, number 50 in the country, and the number 3 interior lineman. You see where I'm going with this? You get your skilled players. And they did a great job last year doing that. I think Rhule is going to be the best quarterback at Penn State that we've seen in some time. And now, of course, the running backs and those skill guys that I mentioned before. And now you take a look at these interior linemen. Now you look at these linemen. And now you look at these guys and you kind of break it down a little bit more and you kind of look around and you see, yeah, maybe, just maybe, this Penn State team is developing something. Like, we know James Franklin can go out and recruit. We know James Franklin is a guy that can get the job done on the trail. It's just one area that they've kind of fell down on and really haven't been able to equal Michigan at. It's their physicality up front. Hopefully they're doing that by beefing up their offensive line in this recruiting class and just winning those big games. Like, that's what they've been able to beat, some of the other teams in the Big Ten, but winning those big games is where Penn State has fallen short. And sometimes it just takes one to get you over the hump. Like, Penn State has the talent in place to get things done. They have the talent in place to compete. I think Rhule is we saw him throw a good amount of balls this season, and they were impressive at times when he got in and played after Sean Clifford. And we know about this running game, and this offensive line is beefing up, and you look at Abdul Carter and what they have on defense back there. Like, this is a Penn State team. If they can put it all together, this could be a dangerous Penn State team going forward. It's a time in the early signing period, a lot of optimism going forward, but there's still a lot of transfers to be had as well. We'll have coverage of the transfer portal as that wraps up as well. But early signing day has come and gone, and there's a lot of excitement surrounding a lot of Big Ten college football programs.